Marcellus Shale Coalition President David Spigelmyer joining me right now. How you doing, David?
I'm good, Bobby. How are you this morning? Great to be with you.
Very good to be with you. I look at some of the taxes that Pennsylvania has. I had State Rep Ryan McKenzie on the show yesterday. We started talking about all the taxes Pennsylvania has, including a corporate income tax rate, which you guys pay in Pennsylvania. Other states that have other fracking fees do not pay as high a corporate income tax. In some states, they don't pay any corporate income tax. And when people say you're not paying your fair share, that's kind of a little bit of a sleight of hand, sleight of budget, misdirect, don't you think?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we're often compared to Texas. Yeah, Texas has no corporate net income tax. They have no capital stock and franchise tax. Our sales tax, ranks up there as high as just about any state across the country. And we have a one of a kind tax called an impact tax that next month will have topped out $850 million. That has been invested here in Pennsylvania in all 67 counties with a one-of-its-kind tax that exists in no other state across the U.S. Yeah,
so it's amazing you guys are losing the PR war, though, I think. I don't know why or how, but in general, I guess maybe it's this larger urban areas that just don't understand it or whatever it is because they're not paying enough taxes. And, of course, the Democrats who always want to spend more money are always willing to have a boogeyman and also misstate facts or whatever. You have money and you should be giving more. So, again, already paying the corporate income tax. Already forgot that, paying the sales tax, already paying the impact fees, and also the capital stock and franchise. All those taxes that many states do not have, they have a more simple tax on you guys. And now the governor is proposing what, and what's your recourse, and what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I don't know. You mentioned that we're losing the PR war. I would tell you we've been pitted against student education, and nothing's more important to us than having, qualified students to be able to enter our industry. That's a very, very important part. I grew up in Pennsylvania. I'd love to see our kids. I have 2 children of my own. I'd love to see them stay here in Pennsylvania, but I'd also want to make sure we have an industry here that can employ those children. And in capital, we've learned very quickly that can move like water out of a state if you don't get the competitive equation right. We know we have more than a dozen shale plays in the U.S. where folks can invest. This is now an international play broadly across the world where capital, can move to those locations as well. So we got to get the competitive playing field right, or folks won't invest here in Pennsylvania, and we'll lose those, golden eggs that have been developed here in Pennsylvania. We've generated more than 230,000 jobs in Pennsylvania with average incomes over $90,000 a year. I mean, it's been the bright star on Pennsylvania's employment horizon over the last 4 or 5 years, and now, consumers across Pennsylvania are benefiting with natural gas utility rates of less than half of what they were in 2008, and frankly, with nearly every consumer product that you touch today manufactured with natural gas, it's having benefits to every consuming Pennsylvania.
So, what do you guys do if the tax he's proposing? I forget. I don't have it here in front of me. It's not the impact tax. Is it called the severance tax? I think it is.
It's a West Virginia severance tax model, and if you take a look at the sale price points in Pennsylvania, it's basically an 8.1 effective severance tax rate in the northern part of the dry gas play, and a little over 7% in the Southwest. And I would tell you, probably on average, that once our winter demand season has come and gone, it's probably more an effective 10% rate broadly across Pennsylvania. So, we're doing battle. We're trying to make sure that folks in the legislature are aware of the risks and the job loss that will follow. We know for a fact if you tax something at that level, you're going to get less of it, and we're already at a 6-year low in rig count in Pennsylvania as a result of oil price decline and energy price decline. We're at 45 rigs when we had 138 just a few short years ago in February of 2012. So, things are already softening, and we certainly don't need to stimulate it any further.
So, you could reopen those rigs, right?
Yeah, I mean, certainly you can deploy additional rig count to develop more natural gas supply in Pennsylvania and more natural gas supply for the country. We've gone from producing a quarter of Pennsylvania's natural gas supply in '08 to producing 20% of America's natural gas supply, just 6 short years later. So it's been an incredible journey in a short period of time, and it's generated revenue and jobs all across the state.
How many rigs are you down to? 45?
Yeah, 45 rigs active in Pennsylvania today, down from 138 in February 2012.
You're not talking about having to do more drilling or building more rigs and whatever. You're just talking about going back and reopening because you already know the energy's there, right?
That is correct. I mean, we've got much more efficient operations. We've learned a lot about Pennsylvania's geology, and we've also found out that the northern part of Pennsylvania is a world-class dry natural gas play. When I say dry natural gas, that's the gas that you use in your home to heat your home, cook your food, dry your clothes, heat your hot water. That I think that what's happened in Pennsylvania's northern region has been extraordinary. In the southwestern part of the state is what they call liquids-rich region. It produces ethane, pentane, butane, isobutane, propanes, different liquid fuels that are used in petrochemical industries and manufacturing industry, and frankly, we have a generational opportunity to use those liquids to generate plastics manufacturing and new opportunities in manufacturing that we've lost decades ago.
So they're going to say that, and I hear two things. They want the money for education, and they're saying if we don't educate the kids, they're going to leave. But if they don't have jobs to go to, they're also going to leave. And it's not just the jobs that are created for their parents who make $90,000, or even if it's less, it's $70,000, but they then have the money to send their kids to college. Number one, they have the jobs that you're create other jobs, whether it's shopping areas opening up or other things that happen. But they're saying, okay, we're going to do the tax, so you're going to pay a severance tax. Why'd they call it a severance tax, by the way? Where did they come up with that?
It's severing the mineral from the earth's crust.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's basically the concept.
Okay, so the severance tax, then the impact fees that you're already paying, plus the corporate income tax, plus the sales tax, plus the capital stock and franchise tax. I guess if he gets his way, it reaches a tipping point. Now, he does have the Republican legislature to battle, but I look at Washington and don't feel much hope, because if Governor Walsh says, I'm just going to unilaterally declare that I'm doing what I want, just like he did on the death penalty, and nobody stops him, then where are we? So,
Bobby, I think we're trying to really refocus this administration on, the real opportunities for Pennsylvania, and that is that, as we look towards a tax, if you really want to generate the revenue, from this industry, it's the retooling of manufacturing and the use of affordable natural gas to generate new manufacturing jobs. If you think about nearly every consumer product that you touch today, all steel, glass, plastics, chemicals, fertilizers, powdered metals, pharmaceutical medications that sustain life every day, they're all manufactured with natural gas. We now have a much more affordable and reliable source of natural gas than we've ever had in Pennsylvania's history. If we use that product here at home to generate manufacturing jobs, the nickels that they're focused on in a tax will become dollars. It'll become dollars because we put Pennsylvanians to work that pay, personal income taxes and that are active in our communities to spend dollars that generate sales tax revenue. That's where I think this whole debate needs to be shifted. We have the ability to employ hundreds of thousands of Pennsylvanians in this spectrum, and they'll raise a lot more money than what they're focused on right now.
Right, that's the point. They're going to kill the goose that laid the golden egg, because they want the golden egg, not realize they want the goose. And they're not realizing if they could keep you guys here, all the other jobs it would create, which would produce taxes, which would then give them the money that they're seeking. Although I don't think I think we're spending too much money to begin with, but that's a whole different discussion. I'm not going to drag you into it. But so what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that he's going to get this done? And do you think the legislature, and have you guys met with the governor to try to talk?
Yeah, we met with him when he was candidate Wolf back in August. We made it very, very clear what was happening on the economic spectrum, and that this industry, you can only take so much before you see the capital move out of state. We've already witnessed some of that already with, when there was a move towards liquids. We saw, companies move towards Ohio with a cheaper tax regime. Certainly the Eagle Ford down in Texas, they often use Texas as an example as a state that has a 7.5% tax rate. But if you look at a 7.5% tax rate, you got to look at it all in. They have no corporate net. They have a 10-year capital recovery period. So frankly, the severance tax really doesn't go into effect until after these wells pay out economically to the investors. So, how this will play out, I would tell you we're really on our horse working to educate the legislature to make sure that citizens that are active not only on the end-use side but active in the supply chain, make sure their voices are heard. I know today there's a hearing up in the Capitol right now where local government leaders are talking about how this impact tax that was passed in 2012 has reshaped local governments across Pennsylvania, that there nearly $1 billion now has been invested broadly in all 67 counties of Pennsylvania that have reshaped that makeup for local government with projects and infrastructure upgrades that have changed those communities and will continue to change those communities if allowed to continue to succeed.
I think part of the problem too is that fracking is it's not down here. It's up in the northern tier where my brother, some of my family members live, and those people are seeing the benefits because they're there and they're the ones getting the jobs. When you're down here, it's this nebulous thing that people can't get their heads around, and it's being, like I said, made into a boogeyman as this evil thing. And we all need energy. We all want energy, and I don't know where they think it's going to come from. And I think the other thing they're thinking is it's not really going to move. They got too much invested here. Well, I just did the math, and that is literally, if you went from 138 rigs down to 45, that you just cut out 2/3 of your rigs. Do the math.
That's absolutely correct, and that's the comment people say. Well, the gas is here; they're not going anywhere. Well, I would tell you that they already have.
Yeah,
we've already seen some migration of capital. Now, companies may decide if the economic platform for investment, would improve. Folks would return to develop natural gas reserves here, but frankly, they have a responsibility to those that invest in their companies to seek the greatest level of return for those investments. So, for now, we've seen some deterioration in that climate, and as things maybe hopefully improve at some point, folks will return here to drill. And when you mention that folks in your listening area may not directly see rig activity, I would tell you that the supply chain network to support this industry is active all over Pennsylvania. There are jobs and benefits that have been derived from affordable energy and for supporting.
I hear you. But the fact you don't understand. No, sir, let me look. I don't want you to do. I've given you a lot of airtime. You don't need to do your whole speech.
Yeah, I understand, Bobby.
My point is, they don't see it though. They don't realize it's going on. They don't know that the jobs that are out there being created by this here. The people up there see the rigs, they see the trucks, they see the jobs, they see the guys in construction. They actually physically see people. And that was such a depressed area that they couldn't help but see it. Down here, it may be that there's some benefit, but the majority of the public, it's invisible. That's the point. You guys better realize that, or you're going to have a bigger problem. And you can sit here and talk about all the subsidiary or residual jobs that it's created, but the people here don't see it and don't realize it. That's the point. I got to run. So where can they find out more about fracking? Do you guys have a website?
Absolutely. They can jump on our site at marcelluscoalition.org. I guess would just add that we've been fracking in Pennsylvania since 1948. The real change here has been turning the drill bit horizontally to produce a lot more acreage off a single location and change the outlook for domestic energy supply.
And people don't even realize that you've been fracking here since 1948. And I got to tell you something, behind the greenies, we've often said, are the Reds. Thank you, sir. Have a good one.
Thanks.
David.
Today.
Yep, David.